I actually don't think a lot of people will come today because we changed the time. So you guys are very on top of things. Okay, so first we will look at our reference picture. Today is quite simple. We're looking at some succulents and some plants. So these two are cacti, the plural of cactus. So we have two cacti, and we have this, we call this one spider plant because it hangs. So it grows like this. So we have the spider plant and the two cactus, cacti. So you guys can take a picture of this or you can just follow along. It doesn't really matter. So I think we'll give everybody a little bit of time to get all their materials out for today. Okay, so just a minute here, and then we'll get started. Today's colors, you can use whatever you want. So for the background, we'll paint it a different color. I encourage everyone to use a different color for the background. We won't keep it white or these things will not look very good. So we'll choose a different color. Does anyone still need this? I'm gonna take it away. Nobody? Okay. Good night. Move this one away. So you'll definitely need your white, your green. Where is my green is the question. I guess I'll use this one. Oh, here's my nicer one. So you need green for sure. You probably will use yellow today. I don't know why these are so dirty. You will need brown. You can also use red. So I have that, and any other color you want, you can actually include it in here. So let's begin with the pencil sketch. It will get covered anyways, but this just helps us know where everything is going to be. So we'll start with landmarking, which is marking out the shape of the object or how big you want it on your page. So I want my cactus plants pretty big. I want them a little bit bigger than they are in the picture. So I'm going to landmark here. So I'll just draw a mark here and then a mark near the bottom. And for this middle one, I'll make this one a little bit bigger. So you just draw lines for how big you want that object. That's called landmarking. And if you take any of Jane's classes or mine before, we say this like every day. Artist's favorite words has to be, one of them has to be landmarking. All right, so you're just gonna draw out the landmarking points. So we do this for every type of drawing, just so we know, like we have a benchmark for how big everything is going to be. Or else sometimes we can get a little bit confused. Okay, so for the rest of this, I would just draw out the pots. I don't think I'll draw out the actual plant. So for the pot, we can just kind of mark down where it's going to be. Why is this line so wonky? I'm trying to do this on a canvas, so my line is super wonky. I'll do this one over here. So just kind of mark out where everything is going to be. It's going to be covered anyway, so you can also kind of mark this out, maybe something like that and something like this. So if you work with acrylic before, you know that it's going to be fairly covered because the acrylic is very opaque, which means that you cannot see through. So if you paint acrylic on glass, you can't see through the glass anymore. In this word, I'm just going to write it down for people. So acrylic paint, we refer to it as opaque. This word means that the light cannot get through it. Watercolor, on the other hand, is very transparent. So watercolor is very transparent. So that means the light is easily able to go through it. But this one, the light is not able to go through it for acrylic paint. So that's the difference between these paints. And both of them do not come out of clothing very easily. The other one you have is oil paint, but that one's a little bit of a different category on its own. oil-based is difficult. You have the oils, you have the solvents, you have a bunch of stuff to learn for that one. Okay, so I'm going to sketch out this thing. So box at the bottom here. And for the spider plant, I just won't plan it right now. It's all over the place, but I know it's going to be within this little rectangle. And then we'll look at this one here. So it's a little bit smaller. Actually, it's a lot smaller. And then the plant itself is going to be contained within that. Like a little ice cream. It's like an ice cream. Okay, once you're done the sketch here, we'll fill in our background with any color you want. I think blue or yellow or pink will look quite nice. I think I'll do pink today. So let me roll up my white leaves so I don't destroy my clothes. One more thing, if you have a plastic palette like this one, after working with acrylic, I usually don't even wash this. What I'll do is once it all dries, it peels very, very easily. So you can actually just peel the paint off after, or you can wash it like a normal person. But I just peel it off with my nail. It's very satisfying for me. The thicker the paint is, the better it will peel off the palette. Okay, let's make a pink. Come out, please. Oops, it's so wobbly. Okay, so I'm just mixing my red and my white, and I'm making a pink that I'm going to put in my background. I think I want my ground a little bit darker. So, let's make a shadow color to go with this. You can use blue, you can use brown. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna use a bit of a brown. So my plan is to create kind of a gradient. So it's gonna be lighter up here, and it's gonna be darker at the bottom. So let's start by mixing the color. Why is there a hair? Get out, reload. So this is my lighter pink color that will look great at the top. Okay. It's always a little bit darker on camera. For you guys, you probably don't need to add water, but if you have thicker paint, so what happens with acrylics is basically the cheap paint and the expensive paint all has the same amount of pigment. So pigment is what we call the actual color. So what happens is the pigment is mixed with a binder, and that's what we call, it's basically like colorless. It's basically like a colorless gel. It has no color. So we mix the pigment, which is usually a powder, into the gel. So the cheap paint will have more binder, which means it has more of the gel. So it's very watery, and expensive paint will have more of the pigment. So there's more color, but it's less watery. So when you're using expensive paint, more expensive paint, you can add a bit of water. If your paint is already watery, then you don't need to add water. So I'm going in with my strawberry pink. So if you're looking at buying paint, the price point for expensive and cheap, actually, for the cheap one, you're paying for the same amount of pigment either way. The expensive one just has more pigment, so the colors are brighter. So we'll go in, start painting our background. And I would go into this a little bit more just because I know that this plant, I know that there's spaces within this plant. And don't worry if it's not perfect or anything, because you will go over it again. And then I'll make a little bit darker pink. I don't know if you can see the difference. It's only a little bit darker. Oops. That's okay. This is not my table. This is a sheet of plastic that I bought to protect my table. You can blend it if you want. So if you want to blend it, you can use a dry brush and go over top of it. But I actually really like the texture. So I like this like very textured look. So I'm gonna keep it the way it is because I like looking at it. And then for the bottom part, I'm actually going to mix my red with a bit of brown. You can also use blue. This background could have been any color you want. It doesn't matter. So we'll go in, mix those together. Oh, that's kind of yucky. That's okay. So any color you want for the bottom. I guess today I have chosen a brown or red brown. Okay, something like that is good. This is so messy. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to wash my brush and we'll continue very soon here. It looks, my water looks so yummy. It looks like strawberry milk. When you wash your brush, make sure that you dry it after. So squeeze the water out. So wait for everyone to finish their backgrounds and we'll continue. Okay, so we can continue with our pots, I think. For our pots, I'm going to use yellow. Probably a lot of white. So I have my yellow right there. A lot of white. I'll just squeeze it in the same. And you need, oh, not green, sorry. Oops. Oops, wrong one. You'll need a bit of maybe brown if you have it. Doesn't matter. You can make these blue if you want. All right, so this one I want mostly white, this one kind of brown, this one kind of yellow. Doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix a kind of yellow. If it turns orange, totally fine. Everything is okay. Okay, I have a lovely yellow that I'm going to put on this one. Move this a little bit. So we'll start and just start putting it in. Oh, that corner is really high. There we go. That's a little better. So my pot is mostly yellow, and I can add in my shading right now. That would be a little easier. You can use any color. For the shadow, blue tones will work better, but I have this, so I'll use this pink here. Cool tones will be better for shadow, not this one, but that's okay. So the shadow will be under this rim here. I'll just make mine a little bit bigger. Go away. So along the side, oops, that's very brown. It's also okay. A little bit on the top. And I think I'll just use that color as my base for this one. Whatever color that is. So it's a little bit brown, added with a lot of white. So I started with brown and I added white. And then this one is just mostly white, so that's what I'll do with it. For the shadow, for the brown one, I'm just using brown with white, but a little bit less white. So then I'm adding in some, oops, I need to wash my brush. I'm gonna add some brighter points in there using white. Maybe I should do this one first. All right, so we'll go in with white. Okay, so I'm gonna add a couple of lighter highlights, so I'll try to add one up here. So you might be asking, what? Where are all the crazy colors you always use? This one is so boring. So boring. Uh, we'll get there. Don't worry. Our shadows will be wacky. I'm saving all the crazy colors for later. So just adding a couple of highlights in there. Maybe here. Don't think that you have to make everything perfectly blended. I love texture. Okay, we'll wait a bit for everyone to finish their pots, and looks like we'll have to get right into the plants. Excuse me. Okay. It's time to get into our plants here. So you will need green. Oh, that's kind of yucky. Kinda yucky. Anyways, yep, you'll need green. I picked that whole thing out. Now it's better. So squeeze out your green. And I'll mix mine with yellow. Another good one is brown. So brown is another great one that you can mix your green with to change the color or to make it more realistic. I guess I do need to get rid of that stuff on the edge for it to go in. All right, so green and some brown, and I have some yellow. Oops. And probably some more white for those highlights. And then, weird choice, but I think I'm gonna use blue for my shadows here. So I'll squeeze out a bit of blue to use. You can use any blue you have. Blue is very good for shadows. Okay. Let's jump right into that. So I'm switching to my a little bit skinnier brush. Actually, I might have a better one. This one is fine. I'm switching to a smaller brush so that I can make my my plant leaves. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix different shades of green. When I paint, I like to work with different colors at once. It's just more effective. I think most painters like to do it that way. So I just like to have different colors on my palette. So I make one green, and then maybe I'll do a darker green in the corner. So these are different colors. Okay, and maybe I want to do a very light version of that. So I'll grab a lot of white. There we go. Now that corner is my light version. And then maybe I want yellow, very yellow version. So you can try to play with this, see if you can get a bunch of different shades and colors going. And once you do, you can start putting them directly on your canvas. So for this one, let's start over here. So for this one, the shape of this thing is kind of like this. And the rest of them, you can't even tell. So you can only tell on the ones on the edges. So I suggest just make a couple. So make a couple of them on the edges, very clear. So like here. So make a couple of these super clear. So you can see it's actually, it's very random, right? So the way that I'm putting it in. So that's one. The second one will be the spider plant. So for the spider plant, your shape is long. If it's not spreading, you can add some more water. It's called a spider plant because it looks like a spider. Bunch of spider legs here. And if it's like blurry or not perfect, that's totally fine. So something like that. This plant is a lot darker green, so I'm using this green up here when I'm making it. So I'll start with this one. So you can start at the base of the plant, which is here, and then go up with your brush. So once you get something like this, I just want to show you before this dries what you can do. So you can see I have many different, what's that called? Many different colors on here. So I want to use all of them at once. So for example, start putting some of that in here as the shadow. You don't need to be precise. So you'll see once I put this in, you can draw out a couple more of these shapes, but you don't need to be very precise. Once you put it all together, so as long as you have shadow and you have highlight, it will look good. So I've only added shadow and already looks much more interesting. For this plant here, you'll have to do it in a darker color, so brown. Can you see that? It might be a little hard to see. Okay, so you will want to add shadow in wherever you can. Okay. At a certain point, you can switch to your smaller brush to add those highlights. So for the spider plant, your highlights are gonna be in between, so you'll have to be quite careful. This is the only one where you have to be a little bit careful. So they're in between the leaves here, you see? And then once you get something you're happy with, then you can just leave it like that. Whereas this plant here has some different decorations. So first I'm gonna go in and make this part a little bit lighter. So I'm just using the similar green, it's the same. a little bit like grass. And then a couple of highlights in this one. So you can go around the leaves or the shapes that you've made. You see I'm going kind of around. So what I'm doing with this one is I'll show you here. So what I've done here is I've started in the middle and then I'm going around. And the reason why is this one's a little bit like a flower, you can see, right? So you can start at one point. And then I just want to make this one a little more clear. The idea is you just keep, idea is you just keep adding to it. I'll let this a little bit sharper. Okay. What? Why isn't my thing plugged in? That's crazy. Hopefully my phone doesn't die on me here. I'm not sure. Why it's not charging. Strange. Anyways, so you might be wondering why I still have this blue. So this blue I'm gonna use as basically like an alternate shadow, okay? So if you look at this picture, we have shadows underneath, very bottom here and up here that are very dark, almost black. If you don't have a blue, I'm not sure, then you can use black if you want. We don't really like using black because it's almost too dark. But the blue will serve the same purpose. So I'll show you here. It also adds a nice pop of color. So this is what you can do. And I'm also gonna water that down a lot. So I'll just mix it with whatever I have here to create a shadow for my pots, because there's a little bit of a shadow behind the pot, if you can see that. I'm just using this color and adding in that shadow. It's like a little blue color. Same over here. So there's a little bit under and also behind. Same with this pot, so don't forget about that guy. Again, I'm going in with my super strong blue outline under the pot. So very carefully I'm drawing that line. And then with my lighter color, I'm making my shadow. Okie dokie. So you get something like this. I'm also going to take this blue and make a couple of, what is that called? Table lines. So my table line, there's one here. Something like that. And I also want to make some shadow on this white frame. So I'm going to take my color and add a bit of a shadow to this on this side. And on this side. So you get some depth to this object instead of it being completely white. You can also add the same shadow color to this one if you think it's not dark enough. So I can go in. And it adds this awesome depth. So I've added quite a bit of water to this blue here. And then with my rest of the blue, I'm actually just gonna add inside my plants. I love using blue and purple as the shadow instead of black because it adds a lot of depth to the painting. So you can see that's like a different layer in there. Same with this guy. So this one only needs a little bit in this area. And how could I forget this pot? Same with this one to give these things a little more of a border. You can underline them if you want, because there's a shadow, a little bit of a shadow underneath all of the leaves. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Okay, another thing, the last thing we have to do today is make all the little highlights on those leaves. So this leaf has an interesting pattern. And it looks like a V shape. So on each of the leaves, this one has a shape like kind of like this. So I'm just going in with my white so I can actually mark all that shape or all those shapes down. make some of these even a little brighter if you want. That's so green. I have lots of blue that I don't want. I'm gonna get rid of it here. Ooh, I don't know. Do I like this? Yeah, we can keep the texture. I just want to bring the floor panels out a little more with my leftover blue here. And the reason why you can still see underneath is because I'm using a very, very dry brush. Okay, I think this class is done for today. Or at least I'm gonna end it a little bit early because my nose is running like crazy. Okay, so does anyone want to share their work so far? I'm surprised that people came today. Martina, let's see.
I'm done. Let me take a picture.
Okay, take a picture first. Oh, this is lovely. Good job. Harpreet, that's very nice too. Xiao Cao, nice. You guys, this one's so fun. It's giving the blue is giving Picasso. Picasso had a blue era where he only made blue paintings, and they all kind of look like this. Super cool. All right, you guys can take a picture of this one. I'll keep it up for a couple minutes here for everyone.